Hey, it's Andryanna. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Juggle is Real podcast. We're still in early September, but we're inching towards the middle of the month. And that means that we've officially entered the messy and magical and the sometimes pretty exhausting back to school season. The weather is beautiful, which is wonderful. And I myself am just kind of getting into the routine, but there's been some madness around here, which I will get into. But I've been checking in online. I've been seeing different posts, seeing how people are feeling. And I saw a post from the Scary Mummy account that both made me laugh and nod and maybe shed a tear at the same time. And it was really just like one of those reaffirming posts. And I will read it to you. And it says, quote, "The second week back to school should be called fatigue week. The back to school adrenaline is gone. The reality of the year ahead is coming into focus. The days are long and the homework starts. Kids are taking in way too much new input to be rested. The sun is setting earlier and suddenly you're cooking dinner between ballet and trombone. Someone's retainer is missing and there just aren't enough hours in the day." Tell me that you felt that in your bones too, because same thing over here. And so today for this episode, I want to talk about how we can navigate this season with more ease. And I've been doing some research. There's some really cool things that I found that are new that I haven't heard of before, practical tools that can sort of help us with the back to school fatigue, some gentle productivity strategies that seem like they're actually going to be super helpful for us this fall. And I also want to look at some reflection to help us with that reset. We started talking about it last week. And if you've already sort of lost steam or you haven't started that reset, I think now is just that perfect time. I also have a personal update for you that I will share at the end that kind of piggybacks on what we are talking about. So definitely stick around for that. If this all sounds good, let's just dive right in. This is the Juggle is Real podcast. I hope you feel seen, that you realize your worth, lighten your load, and prioritize your own needs. As we hear from leading experts and well-known faces in the wellness, entrepreneurship, education, and motherhood space, I hope you gain insights, proven practices, and learn actionable tools to help you enjoy the juggle of work, family, and everything in between with a little less stress and a lot more ease, joy, and fun. Most of all, I hope you find what you need to simplify, streamline, and supercharge your own journey of better balance and self-love. Are you with me? Let's get started. This episode of The Juggle is Real is supported by the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, the CNIB. Back to school season always feels like a whirlwind. The supplies, schedules, lunches, forms, and in my case, 3 boys, all with 3 different needs. It's easy to overlook or forget things, and I have had my fair share of that. 2 school seasons ago, my middle guy went to school with a plastic bag as a pencil case on the first day of school. Whoopsies, but yes, we learn. And there's one thing that I will never forget again, and that is the eye exam. We almost missed it with our oldest. He showed no signs, nothing obvious for his vision issues, but he was having a tough time in the classroom. And so at age 5, we finally had his first eye exam, and it turned out that he needed glasses pretty badly. And that moment hit me hard. As a mom, I felt guilty, like I should have known, right? But the truth is that so many parents miss it. 1 in 4 kids actually has a vision issue, but most show no signs at all. And now, if you've seen photos on social media or online, you know that all 3 of my boys wear glasses, all for different reasons. Our youngest got his first pair at just 18 months, and it's a reminder of how important early detection is. The first 7 years of a child's life are critical for visual development, and catching issues early can make all the difference. Not just for their eyesight, but for how they learn, play, and how they feel about themselves, right? Their confidence. So this back to school season, the CNIB is reminding us to get the kids' eyes checked. As you book your doctor's appointments and check all the things off your list, do not skip the eye exam. It could be one of the most important things you do. If you're in Canada, you can visit opto.ca to find an optometrist in your area to book today. That's opto.ca, opto.ca, and visit cnib.ca to learn how CNIB is supporting kids and families across Canada to thrive in and out of the classroom. Now let's get back to the episode. Okay, so we've already talked about the fatigue week post from Scary Mummy. So I just want to talk about and expand on some strategy, how we can actually tackle how we're feeling and move forward in ways that doesn't feel like, okay, we're totally drained. So I know we've talked about routines and having the visual cues, and oftentimes many of us are juggling. And I know there's many nights of the week where I have to have dinner ready and my kids are eating on the way to soccer or hockey practice because they have 4 o'clock practice and school ends at 3. And how do you get everything done in such a quick time, especially when they're going through all these things? So the quick connection rituals, this is going to be important. So maybe you don't have time to get into like a low stimuli environment. Maybe, you're jumping from one thing to another. So can you do a 5-minute connection ritual to re-anchor with your kids if you are on the go, right? So like the back to school, the fatigue is happening, that burst of adrenaline, all of that stuff is leading to exhaustion. And our kids are taking in so much with the social shifts and their new routines. So can we make it easy with something like just a quick 5 minutes? So it can be having that quick snack together. It can be when they get home, it's like a short walk around the block. Or if you pick them up off the bus, maybe you're going to take a longer route just to have that short discussion on your way. It can even be like having a quick like handshake ritual, having the affirmations that you're repeating before and after school. And we've talked about all the research that supports having the routines, but research actually shows that short, predictable routines really can support and strengthen family bonds, helps to regulate, co-regulate, manage stress, because it tells your children, okay, you're safe, you're seen, we can all sort of collectively exhale together. So we don't need like the Pinterest level after school routine where you have like all of the fruits and veggies cut up in fancy shapes and you're going to do like a meditation. Can we have a 5-minute practice that can support like that transition? So that's something that I'm going to try to look into and lean into this fall. We could also look at like the fuel and the movement as well, right? Because the kids are always like starving at the end of the day. So yes, it doesn't have to be Pinterest level, but can we have like a quick after school snack, something like a fruit or trail mix, granola bars on hand for the drive home or for the walk home from the bus, or when they get in, when you're having like that quick 5-minute connection, like the eating, the chewing. And what I learned in a past podcast episode from an incredible guest was like the sucking. So even if you have like a lollipop or sucker, or you can find sugar-free varieties, the act of sucking is actually soothing. So can support that co-regulation of the nervous system as well. So movement, fueling our bodies. We have a rule now where we're not just coming home and going straight onto screens, and at school now they have a lot of screen time. So we're trying to limit that. And so now we're getting into our after school. And if they don't have to go straight to hockey practice, we're doing something outside or we're doing something in the house, even listening to some music and having that movement over screen time. Even 10 minutes outside can really reset their body and their moods as well. Another thing I wanted to talk about, because I know that, time really is of the essence and the mental load is extremely heavy right now. If you're filling out forms like I am, if the fundraisers have already started, if your team snap is already jam-packed with schedules, batching routines can be really helpful. And I found this on Business Insider. And I'm talking about batching beyond, packing lunches the night before, beyond picking out outfits. I think We know that these things are good for us, even if we don't always do them. But I am doing my best right now. And so far, so good. We've been doing that. But batching can actually go much deeper. And there is new research to support this. So, something like if we're batching our meals and having predictable theme nights for meals. So, we've all heard of, Taco Tuesday, or, maybe it's soup and salad Wednesdays. Maybe we know that every Monday it's a pasta night, right? Fridays are going to be takeout, or Fridays are going to be a pizza night. It can help cut that decision fatigue dramatically, especially if you are the one who's in charge of planning the meals, grocery shopping, putting everything away, cooking, cleaning up after. I mean, the decision fatigue really reduces willpower throughout the day. And so if you're getting home from work, or the kids are getting home from school, and you have no idea what you're making for dinner, that's actually going to increase that fatigue, right? And so having this predictability, knowing like even if you're switching up what it is you're making, the Taco Tuesday, you can have, fajitas one week, you can have, beef tacos, carnitas. I'm doing that actually right now. It's in the crock pot. And so having that predictability within how you're batching the meals is just going to support you so much. And if you can double up, if you can, and I'm not necessarily a fan of doing like the huge Sunday prep of everything, because I like to enjoy my Sundays. But if you're doing something like that, it can support you in how you're planning. Another way we can batch is kind of doing like a power hour when we're collectively doing things with the kids. Because I'm self-employed, sometimes I'm working in off hours, and that's okay, because sometimes I'm not working during the times that people are working. But if kids are coming home and they're having homework, or there's things that have to be done and forms that have to be filled, maybe we do like this homework power hour where everyone in the family is sitting down together and we can work alongside the kids. So maybe when the kids are doing their homework, you're filling out permission slips, or you're there to support them, but you're also then able to plan your meals for the next week, or do some online grocery shopping when you're sitting with them and supporting them when they have questions. Another thing we can do is when we're batching, we can bundle our errands. And I need to come up with a better system instead of popping out like 55 times a week, dedicating one solid block or 2 blocks to the groceries and the dry cleaning, and doing all the errands and trying to do them within like say a 2 or 3 hour block per week. And this is something that came from Business Insider. And you can kind of have that to-do list and that mental notion that that is the time that those things are going to get done, and it's going to perhaps free up space because you're not jumping in and out of the car or ordering things online many times a week. You're kind of doing that within that one solidified block. And we can also do this with things, not just errands, but digitally as well. The digital batching can be super helpful because, instead of checking your email 75,000 times a day, or your social media, just the second, you all of a sudden look down, you're checking your Instagram. Again, I need to get better at this too, but having that batching time and you're processing the emails and the texts in say 2 to 3 or even 5 set times per day, and not like every single time you get a notification pop up. And so we can model this for our children by having this device check times and then putting our phones away or having our laptops closed. Or for the kids, they might have certain blocks of the day when they're allowed the screen time so that they're not constantly wanting to go to it, because that's the easiest thing to do. If they know that from say 6 to 7 p.m. they're allowed the screen time, and that's so you can clean up after dinner or do whatever, it supports everyone when we're sort of batching our digital time. So that's something that we're going to be implementing with the family. And then the last thing that I'm going to say to this before we get into the next topic is sort of doing the reset on a weekly basis. And I sort of alluded to having like the big Sunday reset, which I'm not a huge fan of, but having some type of a system where we can have the Sunday reset, say bins, or a certain day of the week or a certain time where we have, maybe it's a basket, maybe it's a bin, or maybe each family member gets their own type of container, and anything that's out of place goes in the basket or goes in the collective bin. And then on the Sunday, for instance, everyone resets together instead of constantly me nagging everyone and yelling and getting angry because there's clutter everywhere. You just toss it into the basket or the bin. And then we do like this collective reset where things go back in their place. And I know that this can sometimes get a little out of hand. Things can pile up on my stairs all the time. So having a place where maybe you don't have time to, go around the house and declutter everything, but having a space where you can put things and then dedicating one block of time to putting the things away, or having everyone in your family go to the basket and say, take what's yours and you put it away now. It's going to support less clutter, which for me, when I see crap all over the place, it physically makes me feel extremely angry and agitated and annoyed. So it's going to just support the mental health as well as me nagging everyone in the house. So yes, we're in this time where things are busy, things are, feeling like a lot. So perhaps we can support ourselves with some of these strategies. The next thing that I do want to talk about that I think is really important, especially into September and into this busy time, is looking at, changing the hustle, looking more into our habitats and embracing what's called gentle productivity. And we can zoom out a little bit because the fatigue that we're feeling at home often mirrors how we approach our work and how we approach our life. And traditional productivity, as you know, is really about the hustle and the output and how much you can get done. But gentle productivity is about compassion first, not about performance first. And I think when we can lean into compassion first and foremost, not just the output, not just the performance, it can lead to still, yes, getting things done, still being productive, but doing it with more of a gentler lens and feeling better about it. So what does that mean? I mean, most productivity systems ask, and it really is, how much can I get done? That's like the main question, right? Whereas when we're looking at gentle productivity, the question really is, how can I take care of myself while I am getting things done? Right? So it's a bit of a shift, and it's not just, lazing about and napping all day and meditating all day. It's, how can I support myself while I'm also doing the things that need to get done, and shifting from being a task machine to being a real human being, a mom, a person who has limits. And so instead of measuring worth in output, we're going to measure it in alignment. So we're going to ask ourselves, like, did I work? Did I do things in a way that honored my energy, honored my values, honored my relationships? And so I want to talk about that and some of the cool little things that I found. But just before we do, I think we just really need to have a reframe there. And so I'm just going to repeat that again. And instead of being a task machine, being a human being, asking ourselves, did I work in a way that honored my energy? Are there times of the day when you're more productive? Can you schedule things during those times? What is it that you value most? And are you prioritizing what you value most? Like your health. Are you valuing your relationships? So are you taking care of the things that you feel are most important, as well as doing the things that also need to get done? So have you heard of Pomodoro cycles? Because this was new to me, and I thought that this would be a great place to share. Pomodoro cycle, so Pomodoro, tomato, right? Italian, was invented in the late 1980s by Francesco Cirillo, such an Italian name. And he used this tomato-shaped kitchen timer to create what he called the Pomodoro cycle. So basically, it's 25 minutes of super focused work, followed by a 5-minute break. And then after 4 rounds, so, 25, so after say 100 minutes plus your 20 minutes of break, you would then take a longer, say 15 to 30-minute break. So 25 minutes of focused work and then a 5-minute break. And I'm going to say that for me, I think this feels so much more doable than saying I have so much to do and I'm just going to blast through it all, because then I find myself procrastinating because I don't want to spend the next 5 hours doing all the nitty-gritty work. But can I spend 25 minutes and then take a quick break? The science behind it shows that short bursts of focus reduces mental fatigue and it also improves retention. So we're actually going to be present for the work that we're doing. And this comes out of the University of Illinois. And with kids, this is great as well, right? Because you can do this with, say, homework, 25 minutes of focused homework with a 5-minute dance party or 5-minute break afterwards. And you can shorten this too, depending on the span of what your children's attention is or what their age is, right? So even saying like 10 minutes of reading and then 5 minutes of fun, right? These, and having a timer too. Like for instance, like I'm not going to tell I sometimes will just kind of say like, that's a great idea. And then I forget to actually do the thing. But having a neurodiverse child, I've learned that the visual representation, actually physically taking a timer or putting the timer on your phone and saying, okay, we're going to do this for the next 15 minutes, having that actually supports and supports the motivation behind it. And at work, I mean, I don't know why we're expected to just like work for 8 full hours. Breaks can be taking a stretch, going for like a little water hydration break, stepping outside for a few minutes. And if you are with your kids all day, even just switching tasks, doing different things for those short bursts of time, it really does count. So I learned about this in Harvard Business Review. Like the research shows that even 5 minutes of slow breathing or stretching can cut cortisol. It can improve our focus for the next task, right? So doing what we're doing, not only are we, like giving ourselves that little bit of a reward, but it's also going to support us in whatever we're doing next. So I'm calling this a parent recess. You can call it whatever you want, but it's really those short breaks to reset, help your nervous system before you're moving on. So we've talked about doing this after school, having the 5-minute ritual, trying this Pomodoro cycle where you're doing 25 minutes of focused attention and then a 5-minute break, taking your parent recess. I think this is so awesome. And I'm definitely going to be trying this as we move forward into the fall. And then the last thing that I just want to say is when we're looking at gentle productivity, still getting things done, is also looking at gentle action with gentle productivity. Okay. The word gentle, like let's just be more gentle on ourselves. And this comes from F. David Pete. And Pete was a theoretical physicist and he applied systems thinking into daily life. So gentle action means small, subtle moves that create ripples of change. So instead of forcing big change, you shift the environment so progress emerges naturally. So what does this mean? What does gentle action mean in real life? So here's an example. Instead of overhauling the entire morning routine, waking up at the crack of dawn, you just start by placing the water and the vitamins beside your bedtime table at night. And the small cue shifts your hydration because you're waking up and you're going to drink that water. And that's going to shift your energy because you're hydrated when you wake up. And that's going to shift your mood, make you feel a little bit better. It's going to help you in waking up. It's going to support you in your entire day. So the gentle action is less about control. And then it's more about those nudging conditions in your favor. So how are you just in tiny little ways supporting your future self? So I do talk about this in many ways, and that's really the foundation of the Juggle is Real Authentic Self-Care Planner. But I just love these terms of gentle action and gentle productivity. So as we move forward, let's move into this reset without the shame or without the guilt. And I found this little audit, which is kind of a cool thing that we can all collectively do together as we're moving into the fall season. And so it's called the Reset Audit. And it's basically 3 questions. And you can do this. You can ask yourself this at any time. If you're feeling off track, if you're feeling like the week 2 fatigue for back to school, if you're just like, not feeling your best or feeling really overwhelmed, try the Reset Audit, which is 3 questions. The 3 questions are, what is draining me right now? and name it. What is supporting me right now? Anchor in that. And then what is one small shift that I can make today? And you're going to act on that. So this is kind of taking all of what we've talked about and kind of pooling it together and bringing it into like a really simple way to make change that's going to be supportive and positive, but also easy, actually doable. Okay. So the reset audit, what is draining me right now? And you can write this down. And I encourage you actually like pause this if you want to pause it. Jot it down in your phone, take a scrap piece of paper. What is draining you? Maybe it's the forms, maybe it's making lunches, maybe it's the practice schedule. What's draining you? Writing it down is going to help. But then what is supporting you? What is actually making it feel a little bit lighter? Or what can be supporting you, right? Is it to wake up 15 minutes earlier, have the water, and like a 5-minute meditation? Can you anchor in something that's supportive and write down some options? Maybe you're not sure. What are some ideas that you can come up with? Maybe you can, say, someone's helping me after school. Someone's going to support me. Maybe my husband's going to take on the lunches. What is that one small shift that you can make today? Is it just sending someone a text message to ask for help? Is it going to be trying the Pomodoro cycle and taking the 5-minute break after doing the 25 minutes of focused activity and changing the way that you're working? What's one small shift that you can make today? What's a gentle way that you can move into action? And write down what you think you can do. And just doing it in that small and simple way is going to show yourself that you can do it, that you're doing it now, and the return on that little tiny investment is going to be tenfold. It really does work because it blends awareness with action without really overwhelming you with these huge giant goals or like saying like I'm going to do 47 things to like reset my fall. So if you're feeling the overwhelm, I suggest the reset audit with those 3 questions. And we're going to wrap up, but I do just want to share a personal update and kind of just piggyback on what I was sharing last week, because I was talking about how we listed our house and how this new house came up for sale that we had an accepted offer on, and how I just had this, this overarching mantra that everything is working out for me. Everything is working out all the time. And if it's meant to be, it'll be. And if not, something better is coming. And I'm so happy to say that the 3rd time is the charm, because we did sell our house and we are moving. And we're really excited, but I'm also feeling all of the emotions right now. And this truly is a dream that my husband and we've had for many years. And twice before we tried. We listed our house a couple years ago. I'm not going to get into the whole story because I've talked about it on the podcast before. Last summer we put an offer on a house and we realized it wasn't really what we wanted. And both times, I will say, it just brought us a little bit closer because we didn't actually realize our dream. We didn't actually fulfill it, but it brought us clarity, right? Because we got closer as a couple because we had to have those conversations that sometimes you don't make time for. And we had to make time for the things that sometimes we don't want to do. It's great to look online and look at these houses and go see houses and all these things. But, we had to, talk to the bank and send them all of the things. And that takes a long time. And look at our finances and, what actually is doable for us, right? We looked at our house and we made improvements in the home that we're in now, not only to support our families and in the last 2 years and how we've been living, and we've really enjoyed the improvements that we've made, but knowing that it's only going to help the next family who's going to live here. And so now on the 3rd try, things came together, so smoothly. There was no forcing, no pushing. It really just flowed. And I love to be in alignment. I love to be in flow. And so it just feels like a reminder that when something is meant to be and when something is meant for you, it doesn't have to feel like a grind. Yes, it's definitely going to take effort. There is efforting involved, right? I still had to declutter and clean my house and call all the people, but the pieces fall into place. And, the first viewing we had, that family put an offer in on our house. And then it ended up a different family is going to be purchasing this house. But it all came together in a relatively short amount of time. And so sometimes the first, I'm going to put, quotation marks, air quotes, failures, right? Like not getting offers on the house 2 years ago, not even wanting that house that we had an offer in on 2 years ago. Sometimes what you think of is a failure are actually like the foundation, right? Because you're going to learn something. You're maybe going to ask yourself those questions or have conversations with your spouse or the people that you need to. You're going to make the improvements. You're going to learn so much. You're going to find so much more clarity in the process. And then it's going to flow. And it might be, things coming together the second time. Maybe it's the third time. But when it's meant for you, everything is going to align. Like the stars are going to just come together and align beautifully. And so it really just is a reminder that if there's something that you have been thinking of, dreaming of, maybe you have a big goal, if it's not happening yet, if it's not coming together exactly how you're expecting it to, maybe it's because you're still in that foundational building stage. And I just will say, like, if you can release it a little bit, if you cannot grip so tightly, if you can really try to come back to say, like, everything is working out exactly how it has to. And if the answer is no to a question that you were really hoping for a yes, that's just data. It's just evidence that, okay, that wasn't the right thing. Or if someone didn't show up that you wanted them to, then they weren't the right person and the right person is still coming. If there's a house that you really wanted that you didn't get, maybe it wasn't the right one for you and the right one is just around the corner, literally. Like us, our home that we're moving into is just around the corner. So when it is right, it won't feel forced. It will come together beautifully. And if we can just have that faith and trust that truly the universe is here to support us, it just can make the whole process so much lighter. So I wanted to share that news with you. And just say we're super excited. But if there's something that you're working towards, just know that I believe that it's going to come together for you. And so as we wrap up, whether you're navigating fatigue week, reframing how you work with gentle productivity, maybe you're going to do a bit of a reset, do that audit. Maybe you've had a rough start to your back to school. I hope this episode helps you to feel supported. And if you're in a season where things are really just clicking into place, I want you to just soak in that feeling and celebrate it because those wins truly matter. And even if you're going through a hard time, I want you to think of 1 or 2 or 3 small wins that you can really lean into today. I'm so grateful for you taking the time to listen. Thank you for carving out time in your schedule. If you love this episode, can you share it with a friend? Can you rate or write me a review in Apple Podcasts? It truly means the world, truly, truly to me. And it helps other people find these conversations. I'm so grateful that we could spend this time together. And I hope you come on back. Make sure you're subscribed. And until the next episode, take good care.